All right, Aaron, if you're ready, I'm ready to get started and we'll roll through this meeting as quickly as we can.
Okay, let's just call roll after. See if we can get a quorum during the meeting and
Yeah, I mean, since we're not voting on anything right now, since I'm going to take the CAO first, we're good.
Okay.
And we'll take roll in just a bit. All right, so the first agenda item that we will be taking is the presentation on the Clean Fleet and City Vehicles update. This is in accordance with recent ordinances that we have passed and the CAO. Oh, you've got to get streaming going? All right. Hang on, we're going to pause.
Yeah.
Another beautiful day at City Hall. Oh, hi. What's on it? It's like out of words. I've already been out.
Yes. So we're gonna show you something back to the lady. Yeah.
Dan, the other thing I would say too. That we are looking to prepare the vehicle for the public health principles, which is an opposite. That's probably one of the first steps. If we can.
What I hear from leaders. And automakers aren't incentivized to sell at full percent.
Like Lexus keeps trying to buy my 2016. Hey, Paul, I'm gonna take the other agenda item then. All right, so is Granicus working? Are we streaming or are we gonna record and put up later? Okay, so we're up on YouTube? Okay, great. All right. Yes. I have no idea. We're gonna take the voting item right now. Yep, so we're good. Okay, let me go ahead and now take the voting item since I've got a quorum right now. And we're waiting on some tech issues to be resolved. So this is going to be the resolution, RCPS compliance plan. It's agenda item number 3. The committee will consider a resolution granting modified approval of Entergy New Orleans RCPS compliance plan. Just to give everyone kind of a brief overview about what RCPS is, it's the Renewable Clean Portfolio Standard. In 2021, the council finalized the South's only decarbonization mandate with a requirement that Entergy New Orleans eliminate emissions from its generation fleet by 2050, reaching net zero at 90% decarbonization by 2040. This was and continues to be landmark legislation in the fight against global warming and for climate resilience here in New Orleans. The RCPS, while still only a couple years old, has made significant headway. In fact, due to our advanced policy, national climate groups have graded the City Council's climate plan as implemented by Entergy New Orleans, the top in the region, all while Entergy Louisiana and other statewide utilities receive failing grades. This year's implementation plan continues our trajectory and confirms that we are on target. The combination of newly energized zero-emission generation facilities such as the New Orleans Solar Station at Michoud, Iris Solar in Washington Parish, and St. James Solar up the river combined for almost 100 megawatts of brand new generation as directed by the City Council for a cost of pennies on the dollar for ratepayers. Now, in the years to come and due to massive new federal investments and the revolution in clean energy economy, it's likely that we can actually move even faster with RCPS. That means less emissions and lower costs for our ratepayers and new jobs and industries for our economy. Thanks to RCPS, our transition to the clean energy economy will make a better future for all of us. So with that, I'll send it over to Ms. Spears to walk us through the compliance plan. And also if you could brief us as well with some of the intervener comments and where we ended up at the end of the day.
Right, council member, you summarized it pretty well. The goal of the RCPS is net zero carbon emissions in our generating resources by 2040 and actual zero emissions by 2050, using that 10-year period between 2040 and 2050 to phase out the use of RECs to meet the compliance requirements. The Alliance for Affordable Energy was involved in this docket as a stakeholder. And the key point of contention here was whether or not the Sullivan substation used to energize the Sewage and Water Board would be included to meet the goals of the RCPS. In this resolution, the council is determining that the substation is not appropriate for RCPS compliance at this time, primarily because it's not online yet. In the rules, we would still reserve the right to consider it as a qualified measure down the road. But at this time, it is not included to meet their goals. But Entergy is still on target to exceed the goals set out in the RCPS for the next 3 years.
Okay. And from what I understand that from reading the memo that you sent us, Aaron, that when it comes to the comments and suggestions from the Alliance for Affordable Energy, we are they are in acceptance of all of ENO's proposals except for the substation.
Yes, ma'am.
As you mentioned, it's not built yet, so we can consider that down the road. Okay, any questions from any members? Aaron, I think you've got public comment online.
Yes, ma'am. We have 2 public comments. The first is from Jesse George, representing the Alliance for Affordable Energy. He says, the Alliance is pleased that the council has rejected ENO's request to count the Sewage and Water Board's Sullivan substation project toward its renewable energy compliance requirement. The Alliance remains wary of ENO's attempts to pass off opportunities for increased sales as decarbonization or to pass off methane-fired generation as resilience. The Alliance urges the council to continue working aggressively toward a truly renewable energy portfolio that will provide resilience as well as environmental and economic benefits to the city. The second comment is from Jack Reno Sweeney. He says, Entergy's continued reliance on methane gas, aka natural gas, a fossil fuel with over 80 times the warming potential of carbon, is a major issue and a clear signal that the company is not committed to sustainability or resilience in any reasonable definition of those terms. The council must expedite Entergy's transition from all fossil fuels, including gas, and force them to aggressively expand renewable development in the immediate term. Further, the council can permanently solve its many problems with Entergy by municipalizing it. Those are the two comments.
All right, thank you, Aaron. With that, I'll make a motion, if I can get a second, to move it to the full council, seconded by Council Vice President Morrell. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, 4 yeas, no nays, and it moves on to the full council. Okay, how are we looking, Paul? Working.
Working on
Oh.
Somebody really want a hamburger here.
Look, man. Wasn't much.
Right. Another.
Oh, we do have the presentation, so maybe we can just upload it later.
Councilmember, the presentation is uploaded on the agenda.
We'll just do it that way, and we'll just kind of, we've got,
While you're discussing.
all right, we've got printed copies. All right, so that brings us now to the Clean Fleet update and city vehicles update with the CAO presenting on this particular matter. As the council may recall, that we recently have passed a variety of different ordinances, overall just dealing with our clean fleet, overall having a clean city, and even having more efficient and LEED gold standard building requirements. So the Clean Fleet Ordinance is really what is applicable for what we'll be discussing today. It requires the city to transition to zero emission vehicle purchases beginning in fiscal year 2025. Today, the CAO's team will give us a baseline understanding of the city's current fleet as required by the Clean Fleet Ordinance and their vision for the next steps in this important transition. So with that, Mr. CAO, I turn it over to you.
Madam President, members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to discuss the baseline. Certainly, we have great ambitions to truly make it a clean fleet, clean environment, and is absolutely in alignment with all the priorities relative to our Office of Resiliency and everything of the sort. So my portion will really just kind of go through what our overview is, and then I'm going to hand it over to Dan to really set the trajectory on where we hope and aspire to accomplish and the pathways to eventually get us there. Obviously, fossil fuels and fleet is one of the most significant impacts for the initiative that we're trying to address. You'll see through your handout, since it's not quite yet on the web, a report that articulates essentially about 1,300 vehicles right now are mostly or in part funded or operating based on fossil fuels. We certainly do hope and anticipate that we are evolving into the hybrid model. Goes a little bit more into the details. Our average fuel economy for our fleet is about 19 miles per gallon. The average fleet is about 7 years old. Then I have it broken down by department on the average fuel economy based on those items. As I understand, this will, I hope, set the baseline. And then as years come, we hope to see these numbers just drop and drop and drop and drop. Of course, the challenges that we face right now, as everywhere else in the country, is acquisition of vehicles. We have money and resources to be able to acquire these. And our goal and anticipation is to address our imminent need, which is have a replacement fleet, but also think forwardly to address those needs relative to devolve ourselves from fossil fuels or the need of fossil fuels to enhance our environment and the like. Of record, this is the baseline, I believe, as required. But I think the more important and telling story is where I think collectively we are all anticipating and hoping to go. And with that, I'll turn it over to Dan and address any questions that I'm able to answer in that regard. Thank you.
All right, thank you, and good morning, council members. So moving into the new year, we have a few different ongoing activities and some upcoming ones that I just wanted to outline briefly. So we're in the process of the public EV charger pilot in conjunction with Entergy New Orleans. This will install 30 level 2 chargers at 25 public locations around the city. This will be focused on NORD facilities, libraries, parks, those sorts of public facilities. As of today, 2 of those installations are complete and the chargers are now active. Another 9 locations, the construction is complete, the inspections are underway, and we anticipate that they will be active and ready for use by the end of the year. Within the Office of Resilience and Sustainability, we're working with both the Department of Public Works and Safety and Permits to smooth out that permitting process, learning from the process as we've been going through this pilot to seek out efficiencies and streamline that moving forward. Alongside that one, the Louisiana DOTD, their infrastructure program around DC fast chargers is getting underway. They have, per the federal requirements from the IIJA bill, they have developed their plan, submitted it to the Department of Transportation, and received approval on that. They are now soliciting letters of interest or letters of intent, pardon me, from prospective applicants to this funding by the end of December. And then they will open their application period between January and April of next year. They will be seeking people to apply that are looking to own the charging stations and install them within 1 mile of an interchange of a alternative fuel corridor, of which both I-10 and Business 90, the Pontchartrain Expressway, West Bank Expressway, are both designated that. So by the end of phase 2 of that program, they'll be using the money that's currently in that NEVI program. There'll be upwards of about 24 DC fast charger locations located within the city of New Orleans, and then several hundred across the state along all these various alternative fuel corridors. So starting next year, utilizing funds that were made available in the 2023 budget to the Office of Resilience and Sustainability, we will be putting out an RFP to select a consultant to assist with developing both a electric vehicle strategic plan. It will be a broad citywide plan. Baton Rouge recently completed one of these. That's a potential model of the direction we would be going. And that scope would be looking at things like charging infrastructure, zoning issues, funding opportunities. How do we ensure equity in the implementation? What would be our public meeting and stakeholder engagement program around process around deploying electric vehicle charging, and then education and outreach to the community about benefits, the use, et cetera. The other part of that effort next year will be directly related to the ordinance that this council adopted last January on the fleet transition, and that would be development of the fleet transition plan itself, looking at the over a 10-year horizon as outlined by that ordinance. One thing I forgot to mention, apologies. We are also working to install 3 EV chargers in conjunction with NOPD for their use right now at the 8th District headquarters in the French Quarter, at the VA and Washington Park. The RFP selection committee just shortlisted 3 vendors, I believe last week. So that'll be proceeding forward as well. And some of the first EVs that the city is looking to purchase would be for the NOPD supplemental patrol force that's in the French Quarter. So that's I think everything I wanted to share today, and I guess we'll be happy to answer questions.
Thank you so much for that information. So looking at your slide where you talk about the public EV charger pilots with Entergy, and I know you've mentioned this before, but I think it's important to re-mention it again. With the 25 public locations, explain how those were chosen.
Sure. There was a process that took place late last year, early this year, that included like public surveys, soliciting input from the community about where people would want to see public chargers. And we focused on locations that were already city owned and city controlled to assist in making the deployment of that a lot faster and a lot easier. So it was guided by that initially by that public survey to help identify locations, and then a committee of stakeholders that the Office of Transportation was organizing helped narrow it down to the 25 based on the resources that were available for the pilot.
And how many locations are up?
2 are installed and active. Another 9 are installed and the inspections are underway and should be active and ready for use by the end of the month.
I know one's at Pontchartrain Park, as far as on and active, but where's the other?
I will have to check on where the other location is that is already active.
Okay, got it. You mentioned, you've got some of the infrastructure going up at one of the NOPD districts. So for our future plans to be able to charge the city's fleet, what does the planning look like for that? I know you're putting out a lot of different RFPs. So explain to me the planning process as to, how we're going to put infrastructure in place so that the city's fleet can be charged.
Sure. That is an area that the fleet transition plan will address in looking at items and issues about like where vehicles are staying overnight. Since that's obviously the best time in almost any use case to be charging the vehicles. So where they're living overnight will be probably one of the primary, if not the primary factor in determining the locations where we need the charging infrastructure and at what capacity of charging infrastructure is needed at any individual location based on the number of vehicles that stay there.
Got it. And then my next question is for the CAO. Mr. Montano, from what I recall from the ordinance beginning in 2023, the city has to begin purchasing vehicles that meet certain emission standards. I know that, we're going to be purchasing a great deal of vehicles beginning next year. Will those vehicles meet the standards of the ordinance?
Madam President, members of the committee, the short answer is yes. I mean, if we're mandated to do it and we're absolutely in the same policy alignment, it's something that needs to be done. The evolution of the manufacturing companies make it a lot easier as they are becoming more of a less dependent and concerning to the environment at some level. So I believe we're completely in alignment, and I'll double check with our purchasing groups as well to ensure that we are in compliance with the ordinance and the policy that has been set before by the council and completely embraced by the administration.
What did you say is the average age of city vehicle?
The median age is 7 years.
7 years.
Yes, and that's the median.
All right. Any questions from council members? Councilmember Harris.
I know that there is an EV charger going up in Coliseum Square. Can you tell me the process for public outreach, especially to the immediate neighbors who might be impacted by installation of these EV chargers?
Yeah, my understanding, council member, I actually was just reviewed an email chain on that a day or two ago. The Office of Transportation engaged after the process that I spoke about a few minutes ago to Councilmember Moreno. On that particular location, there was a presentation to the Coliseum Square Neighborhood Association. I believe that was in September or October. I can double check what that date was. Laying out the plan and the intention to install the public charger at the park.
But what about notice to neighbors who might not have attended that meeting? Was there any printed notice given, any mailed notice given? Any feedback process for people who might not belong to a neighborhood association, which is the majority of New Orleanians? What outreach has been done to immediate neighbors who might be affected?
Yeah, we're checking to see what the process was because the Office of Resilience and Sustainability was not leading that effort. So we're just trying to close that gap in knowledge about what happened before this transferred over to our office to move forward on.
So is the plan now to provide written notice, mailed notice to neighbors who might be impacted by installation of an EV charger? And look, I'm not against EV chargers. I just am getting the feedback from neighbors who are worried about noise, which I'm going to get to in a second, traffic, people just parked waiting for the EV chargers. So if you could tell me what process you have going forward plan for notification, I think people would like to know that.
Yeah, and these are the kinds of lessons we're learning from that pilot, and including, you know, this ongoing feedback that I'm sure we will continue to receive directly or receive through council offices. And that will help inform and guide the EV strategic plan that we're going to develop next year. And that's why included in that scope will be, you know, what is the process that we want to undertake for education, for engagement with the community.
And what about engagement post installation? So if a neighbor has a complaint about the EV chargers, are they going to call my office? Are they going to call your office? Who are they going to call?
I mean, we can lay out what the proper or the desired process would be. I'm sure, you know,
I
people
think that needs
will
to
contact
happen.
whoever they want to contact ultimately.
Yeah, no, but I think.
But yeah,
that
we
needs to
will make it
happen.
clear what is, you know, the best way for people to express thoughts, concerns, whatever the case may be.
I mean, ultimately, they're going to call my office, but my office needs to know who to escalate those complaints to. So if you can map out that process
Mhm.
as you're getting these pilot programs going, I think that's going to be helpful for all of the district council members who are impacted. Can you talk about the noise or lack of noise generated by the EV chargers?
By the
Very
chargers
noisy.
itself while they're in use.
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily aware of any particular excess noise that they generate. But I can confirm that with people that are much more familiar with the specific equipment.
If you could do that and get back to me, because the neighbor who reached out to my office is worried about noise and traffic again because of this EV charger at Coliseum Square Park. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, any comments? Nope. All right, seeing none. Thank you all. Appreciate your presentation. Okay, so that brings us to the last item, which is executive session to discuss a couple of items. One, the Metro Service Group case, and the other has to do with the STR litigation. So with that, I'll make a motion to go into executive session, seconded by Councilmember Morrell. All in favor? Aye, and we're in executive session.
It's working. These are different answers.
Morel, all in favor? Aye.